Allison. I am excited to jump into this one because, a good in-law story. Who doesn't like it? So why don't you share this one with us?
Okay, so thank you to the person who sent this in. Here's what they said. Hello, love your podcast and the humor you both bring to it. I heard you're looking for more awkward stories. And while this one isn't happening so much currently, it has the potential to become very awkward. My husband comes from a very poor family, although we are doing fine financially. While the in-laws don't ask for money, they obviously need it. And other family members ask us to contribute to random things as a gift for them. The problem is that we know that within 10 years, we'll probably be paying for the retirement while raising a family at the same time. I don't mind contributing here and there because that's what family does. My in-laws aren't lazy. They just can't get anywhere. While I know I overthink, I'm both scared for my future with my husband as well as frustrated at all the money we're going to have to give them because I feel bad for not doing the same for my parents. We also have a hard time saying no to people, so that doesn't help. Some other family members have also mentioned that they will not be willing to give to, Some other family members have also mentioned that they will not be willing to give anymore. What do we do? Is it wrong to say no? And any tips on how to deal with potentially awkward situations? How can we prepare ourselves to be better equipped to help? Thanks so much for whatever advice you can offer.
Oh, that was a great question. And you did the heavy lifting here. Why don't you go first?
Okay. I have to go first.
Yeah.
After I read it. Okay. I don't know anything about this, but I will say, I think that there are more people in this type of situation than many realize, especially, I know, especially in the Latino community, it's very common to always help your family. So that's like very much like ingrained into it. And it's almost like an expectation. And so I think that culturally, this is something that you see more in other cultures.
Have you felt that pressure?
I haven't. So my dad, I'm half Hispanic. My grandma did very well. So my grandfather died when I was younger. And then she, I don't know how she does financially. I mean, she's 89 and
Wow.
She gets by. Like she doesn't have a lot of money, but she doesn't ask for help. I think that she had her house flood at one point, like to the ceiling in Louisiana.
To the ceiling?
Yeah, during a hurricane.
And the house is still there afterwards?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you said flood. So I was like, did the water leave and then now she went back and lived in it?
Well, no, the water left and it basically emptied out and everything was just terrible. And then that's where, like, when you had major situations like that, I think that that's whenever money was gifted, but then also returned after they sold the property. So it was like this property that was, on this river and everything. It was very nice. So it was almost like a gift and a return. But I also don't know the inner workings of like my parents' finances with the family. But yeah. I don't there's not any pressure from me as a child or expectation to provide for my parents, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so that's not an expectation on me. I don't know if that's an expectation on my parents. I don't think it is, but there's not that. So there's definitely, but I do know that it's common. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's hard because in the situation right now, if I'm looking back at the story, like right now, they said they don't need any help. Like they're not actually actively having to. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm reading this. Yes, it says while in-laws don't ask for money, they obviously need it. And other family members ask us to contribute to random things as a gift for them. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think it was Julian of Rich and Regular. I was talking to him, and he was talking about, he used this term called the sandwich generation. Okay. And it's these people who have kids that obviously need support, but they also have parents who need financial support. Mm-hmm. And that's a situation that he found himself in. And it's a very unique and difficult spot to be in because you're essentially taking on like another dependent. Yep. And it's so hard because so many people don't have, like, for example, pensions have pretty much gone away in most situations. Unless you work for the government. Most people weren't really taught how to save properly in a 401k, or maybe didn't even have enough money to start investing for their retirement on their own. And so then you have the situation where they're at that age where, they probably need to stop working, but they don't have enough money. And Social Security is really not that much money at all.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really not.
And it's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're gonna have to make a decision, right? If you're going to set boundaries and say I can't help, or I don't want to, or you're
Yeah.
going to come up with some plan to actually coordinate with the rest of the members of your family and
Mm-hmm.
decide how it's going to work. But there has to be some type of discussion and coordination, because you can't ignore it, because it's going to come
Mm-hmm.
down the road at some point. It's going to happen. I think I said the problem is that we know within 10 years we'll probably be paying their retirement while raising a
Mm-hmm.
family at the same time.
So I think that this is where a lot of like multi-generation homes, like why there are, multi-generation homes where, grandma lives there because of this type of issue,
Mm-hmm.
and just needing help and everything like that. I actually have a friend, a close friend who is, I won't mention her name or anything, but she actually is going through this with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
So her parents are divorced, and they actually had to find ways, creative ways to kind of push off the inevitable.
Mm.
So, for instance, she helped her mom sell her home, which sold very well in the crazy market.
Oh, yeah,
Like
I'm
this
sure
was
it did.
before interest rates went off and everything like that. So they were helping her do that to extend her retirement income. But she's going to come to a point where she is going to have to help her mother. And so I recommended that she actually create like this boundary of like, okay, number one, do you want to help your mom? And then number two, can you commit, like if you're willing to do this, can you commit to a certain amount? Like
Mm.
not a free for all of, tell me what you need every month, but
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
it's $500 a month or something. And then you add that into your budget almost like it's this expense that you would be expecting to do. Another thing is to get really creative with housing, because thinking about what are the biggest expenses in terms of housing. But it's very sad because you've heard about like these older people that have no money and then they're eating like dog food and stuff. It's
Yeah.
very, very sad, and you don't also want to put your parents in that situation. So when I read this, they're not saying we don't. What she's saying, is it wrong to say no?
Yeah.
It seems like they want to help. They want to be able to help. But how can you help in a way that still allows you to be in a good spot financially?
Yeah, no, I agree. Because I was reading back here again, and she said that I'm both scared for my future with my husband, as well as frustrated at all the money we're going to have to give them, because I feel bad for not doing the same thing for my parents. And I think, well, there's multiple layers of guilt that our writer is sending in, or is talking about right now. But here's the thing: I think you're going to feel guilt regardless. Like either you help them and you feel guilt, or you do nothing, and you feel a
Yeah.
different type of guilt. And I think it's important to have a plan, like you said. You can't just, I think that's where the frustration comes in, where you're just kind of like piecemealing it out. Like all of a sudden they need $1,000, and the next, month they need
Yes.
$4,000. And it's like all sporadic all over the place, and it completely disrupts your own financial situation. And it sounds like there's other family who's kind of also feeling this frustration, knowing that they have to help them.
Yeah. And they're like, nope, we're
Yeah,
done.
like we're done. And so there's going to need to be, I think you have to have coordination, and it's hard to talk to family and get everyone on the same page, because some people are just gonna be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm out. I don't care. They should have done better. So bye. Like there's people who are going to have that attitude, and there's going to be people who sounds like this writer here, our person who wrote in, that they want to help, and they just are frustrated at the way they're having to help. And I think that becomes from a lack of coordination and a fixed plan or strategy to how to approach this versus just
Yes.
what's going on now.
And I think that it's totally okay to feel frustrated and to
Yeah.
feel torn. I think it is. And I think that it's very smart for this person who's writing in to start thinking through this. And it allows them, because they're saying in 10 years, right? Like within 10 years, they're going to probably really need to be helping. I think that if that's true, this gives you time, the next 10 years, to say, what do I need to do with my finances to get myself set so that because it's not certain, hopefully, right? But if
Yeah.
this comes that I can, and I'm willing to help that I can, because I know, like, if my parents were to say, hey, Allison, I would be happy to offer them $500 a month or whatever I needed to. But I would feel resentment if I
Yes.
couldn't meet my own needs. So how
Exactly.
can we make sure in the next 10 years that you set yourself up to be able to meet your needs and your children's needs, so that if these in-laws do come to you, you're not feeling that pain and that resentment and feeling like, oh, I have to do this because no one else is helping them. And instead you're looking at it like, okay, this is a gift. This
Yeah.
is a gift
Yeah.
from me. So preparing yourself as much as you can to help you be able to approach it differently and see it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to plan this out. This is basically has to
Mhm.
become a line item in your budget now.
Yeah.
And you have to figure,
Mhm.
yeah, if you're going to say yes to this, because
Mhm.
what they asked was, what do we do? Is it wrong to say no? And any tips on dealing with the awkward
Ooh,
situation?
is it wrong to say no?
Yeah, let's
Do you think it's
let's break
wrong?
through these one at a time. Yeah.
Ooh.
So do you feel
Ooh.
it's wrong to say no?
Um, no, I don't feel like it's wrong to say no.
No.
I think that it's your choice. Everyone's allowed to have choices. You know, they made choices, and you're 100% allowed to say no. I think though, you saying no is like, to me, I don't think I would say no because of the relationship that I have
Yeah. Yeah.
with my parents. So I think also whether or not you say yes or no also depends on your relationship and if you're close. If this is a parent that, left when you were younger and they're coming back late in life and asking something, that's very different than
Mm.
having like a parent that was supportive and raised you and everything like that. So I think it's not just this like, it's very gray. It's not this direct yes or no thing. It's very gray. What do you think?
Yeah, it is very great. And also, if anyone in the chat right now, just let us know your thoughts on this. Like, do you think it's okay to say no? Would you feel comfortable saying yes or no to this? And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying no. You just kind of have to prepare yourself emotionally for the fact that if you say no, what you may hear back, like, their response, stories from family, if they continue to struggle, you have to say, if I'm saying no, I have a reason why I'm saying no, because I can't afford to say yes, and
Yeah.
be okay with making that decision. Because you can't keep flipping back and forth. Like, oh no, never mind, I changed my mind. Yes, I'll help you. And then all of a sudden, oh well,
Yeah.
no, it's too tough for me. So you kind of have to decide. And then I think the hardest part of all of this is having a money conversation with your parents and having them be open and transparent with you and honest about where they are. Because
Yeah.
if everyone's having to give them money, then they're clearly not, financially stable enough. And you have to have hard conversations about what does that mean. And
Yeah.
it could mean that they have to live with someone. They have to come move with family. And
Yep.
you have to make a decision together who that's going to be. Or you may have to make a decision on what expenses they're going to have to cut and hold them to it. Like it becomes really, I understand their pain making this decision because it's hard. It's super complicated because there's a lot
Yeah.
that goes into this. Not just a simple, I'll say yes and we'll figure it out. You really have to plan this out. This becomes a whole family decision and conversation, which is hard because not everyone, most families, every member is not going to be on the same page with this at all in any
Yeah.
way.
Yes. Oh, Kaylee just left a really good
I'll
comment.
put
She
up on the
said
screen
it's
here.
definitely a cultural component here too. I'm half Hispanic and grew up in a multi-generational household. Grandparents came here with nothing and worked multiple jobs to give their kids an education. See? And so then you say, and she says, all the kids supported them as they aged. So it's almost like, okay, they sacrificed for you.
Yeah.
So you turn around in your later years and sacrifice for them. I think that is a very different view to look at it, because then it makes you want to do it, because then you think, okay, this is part of what I do. So in certain cultures, it wouldn't even be like, is it wrong to say no? It's just expected.
Yeah.
So first off, you have to realize that, of the culture you're in and the way you were raised, and then also ask yourself, okay, maybe it is expected and maybe this is what I do for my in-laws or my parents, but I don't actually like it, and I don't want my kids to have to do that for me. And then that's where you start making that change, right? Generational change comes from, I think it takes a very long time, but that's that one thing that you can do to start kind of breaking up what the norm is if you don't like it.
Yeah. You can say, okay, I'm going to do things differently for, my time around when I may be in this position.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in a situation like Kayla was mentioning, where it's like, if it's part of your culture, then that means you're going to have to coordinate with everyone else. This becomes
Yes.
a group. This is a group project now. We're all
Group
coming together.
I know, but in group projects, there's always one person that does all the work.
Exactly. And I think that's the tough part. Like if it sounds like this person is probably the responsible person in the family, and they probably are gonna have to deal with a lot of the weight of planning this, organizing it, which is a lot. It often falls on women in the family as well. They're also the ones who are often stuck with the planning and caring for a family. And
Yes, absolutely.
and it's a lot.
And I don't know. I know for me, I would want to be in charge of that. Like when I think about me and my brother, like, Nick, I've got it. So part of that is it does tend to fall on women, but I want that response. I would rather have that responsibility than have him do it because I think I can do it better.
This is a control problem for you. This isn't a response. Like I have this deep ingrained feeling of responsibility. It's I know I can do it better than the rest of these people.
Then my brother, yes. Sorry, Nick. But I would love, if this ever happens, I would still love for you to contribute financially.
You're like, I'm going to plan it, but you're still going to be giving money. Okay, to make it clear.
Exactly. Kaylee also said a lot of our drive as kids to be successful comes from the heartbeat of, I want to give back to my parents for everything they gave me. And so I think that there's a difference. And I think what's different here is that the person who wrote in, this wasn't her parents. This was her in-law.
That is true.
So you don't have, so she maybe didn't have that drive as a child, and maybe her partner does. So I think that this is very multifaceted. I think that sometimes it's like you have to do what you have to do. But once again, I think it goes back to what can you do now, no matter where you are in your stage of life, no matter where you are in your money journey, no matter how old you are, what can you do now to set yourself up financially so that if you do, if you're given the opportunity to help your parents, because some people see it as a thing they want to do, some people see it as a burden, right? But if you're given that opportunity or that expectation, what can you do so that way you're in a place where it does not lead to resentment, it does not lead to anger, and instead you see it as like this, like this act of love.
Yeah, you definitely have to reframe it for yourself because it is a sacrifice you're making. It's a big sacrifice to help family financially like that. And
yes, but what if you had to and you said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I get to do this for my parents because I can afford to, be able to give to them this money every month and I love them and I know they worked hard for me and this is my way to like be supportive and give back," versus, "Oh my gosh, I have all of this debt. I have all these credit card loans. I have all of this. I'm barely making by. And now my parents want $300. Who do they think they are? Why didn't they set themselves up for success?" Right? So which position would you want to be in?
All right, I'm going to push back a little bit on this because I think, that's a great way to if you're saying yes, that is a great way to change the way you think about it to help you continue to keep doing this. But we're all human. And that feeling of, you know what, I'm really doing the right thing is going to wear off. And
you think so?
I think it will. I think it can, especially if one, these aren't her parents. Two, there's other family involved. And if you're stuck with the responsibility of all of this, resentment's going to start to grow over time. You're going to get tired of this. You're going to start to be irritated that other people aren't carrying their weight or putting in their fair share. And I think that's when it's going to get difficult. And so I think that's why you have to have this. I think you have to say, make a decision for yourself first. Are you okay with doing this? Are you going to agree that you want to help them financially? That's step one. I think step two is figuring out how much you actually can afford to help financially.
Okay.
And then step three, after you figured out that stuff for yourself, going and talking to everyone else.
Yes, communicating.
And then being okay with some people just saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not on board. I can't. Even if they can, they may just say they can't. And you just have to prepare yourself emotionally and mentally for the fact that, you probably won't get everyone on board, but you know what you can do and you have to work within your means on that. Yeah.
It's a hard situation.
It is. This is really difficult. There's no easy answer to this situation.
Yes. So yeah, but I think we answered the questions. They said, any tips on how to deal with potentially awkward situations? I think that the tip here is it's going to be awkward and you just have to push past it. Like it's going to be awkward to have these conversations, but you need to just push past it and go in and state the facts and realize that whatever you're doing out of a place of love for your family. And then secondly, how can we prepare ourselves to be better equipped to help? I mean, I think, just preparing yourself in the next 10 years. I love the idea personally of saying, like, what's our goal? If we want to give $300 or $500 to our parents, let's set it aside now and invest it. That way, for the next 10 years, that way we prepare our spending habits, and we don't like lifestyle creep, right? To prepare yourself.
You're making me want to nerd out here on this, Allison.
Oh my gosh, you're going to pull up an investment calculator?
All right, so yeah, let's go here. I'm going to bring this up here. So I gotta switch monitors around here so I can see what's going on.
So while you're bringing this up, I'm going to say, okay, if this is something you're going to commit to, obviously if you're in a financial position to be able to, especially as you get raises or you increase your income over time, because I really hope you don't stay at the same income. I want everyone to increase their income over time, especially with this damn inflation. Sorry, you don't have to cut that out.
Language, Allison.
Sorry. Anyway, so the hope is to increase your income. Well, as you're getting that income increase, if you start setting aside some of that money and you start putting that in investments, then, it's like you're training yourself to be prepared for this upcoming expense.
Exactly. So, okay, I was bringing up calculators. So I thought you were going to talk
Sorry,
about
I get angry when I think about inflation.
How dare you? That was your potty mouth out there.
I know, and I even was like, I said that in bold. That if I was writing it, I would have bolded that.
Oh, okay. I was trying to find a good calculator for the like an annual amount.
Oh,
but give me a second here as I find a good one.
Goodness, here we go.
One that's not overly complicated.
But yes, that's what I used to do, and it's kind of fun because when I was thinking about quitting my teaching job, it was a matter of okay, how much? I would make these almost example budgets, or I would just make budgets of being okay, what if, these situational budgets. What if I quit teaching and I only made half of what I made in my business as I did teaching? Could we afford to live? And I would create these situational budgets to allow myself to understand if the decision I was making was actually a good one. So I wanted to make the decision based off of facts and not numbers. So I definitely think this is something that you should do as well when you're thinking about this.
Yeah. You really have to lay this out. I think having these conversations is so important because you're going to have to lay all of this out and really come up with a strong plan for how financially this is going to be feasible for you.
Let's talk about Angie's comment. Angie just left a comment here.
Bring it up here. I'll bring it up for you.
She says, we wanted to help my in-law too. We offered to, where did it go?
There you go.
What are you doing?
I was bringing up the right one. Give me room to read it.
We wanted to help my in-laws too. We offered to set up a way for everyone to send money monthly, whatever we could afford that month, into an account, and we're told no. Now we get guilt phone calls. So I'm wondering, Angie, who are you getting guilt phone calls from? I'm guessing the in-laws. And then I wonder if maybe they said no as a defense mechanism, because it's hard to admit that, I didn't do something, or, I missed an opportunity to invest, or I didn't know how to invest, or I didn't know how to save, or I didn't think about this. And so that takes a lot of courage and being very vulnerable to say yeah, this is actually what we need. That takes a lot. So I'm wondering who she's getting the guilt phone calls from. And then just to be able to accept that type of thing, I think it can actually be very hard for people, because then it's them and admitting to themselves and to everyone else that I'm not in a place that I want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, Chris, you're taking forever on this. Can we drop it?
If we can, I'll figure it out later. Because basically,
okay.
All right, I'm gonna nerd out here for a second. Tell you what I was doing. So there's calculators out there. For example, there's a really good government calculator from the U.S. government about projecting how much money you'll have in the future given a bunch of different variables. As a trash truck drives by, it makes a bunch of noise here.
I couldn't hear that at all.
Okay, good. So you can go in there, you can say, okay, if I have this much money, I can afford to put it in. So let me just show you. I'll put this up. I can show this one.
Oh my gosh.
Because I love sharing this. All right, here we go. I think this is the right one. Share screen. All right, you can see all my music that I was playing there. And bring it up to the right one here. So I'm going to go to Chrome. Where are you at, Chrome? There you are. All right, there's a calculator. You can see it.
There we go. So make it bigger.
Make it bigger?
I just can't see it very well.
Look, you're old.
There you go.
Don't blame. Don't.
I'm a
your old
month
eyes on
younger
everyone
than
else.
you, old man.
Your eyes are at least 30 years older than me. Or just wear your glasses. Stop trying to be cool. Take your glasses. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see. So this is like a very simple calculator to project out how much money you can have in the future.
Investor.gov, right?
Yeah, exactly. Investor.gov is a website. And so, for example, you could do something like if you have nothing in the account right now. You got nothing invested right now. But you say, I can put aside $300. Let's say $300 a month, right? And let's say you think, she said 10 years from now is
10
when.
years.
So put 10 years, and then we're going to assume 7%. That's pretty average for a stock market. And we're not going to do any of this variance range here. And then we're going to say it compounds annually. I'm going to do monthly. Why not? And you hit calculate. So it says in 10 years, you have $52,000 basically at that rate.
Yeah, but show how much they actually invested. Does it actually say how much they?
I think I'm gonna have it here.
Show table. So you have 52,000, but your total contributions was only 36,000. So you only used $36,000 of your own money, and it's now grown to almost $52,000. So I like the idea.
Oh, go ahead. No, I'll let you finish.
No, I was just gonna say I like the idea of doing this if it fits in your financial plan, to be able to kind of like say, okay, maybe in the next year, I want to start like pretending like I'm sending that money to the in-laws, and then just put it in an investment account so that it's not a shock to my system.
Exactly. And then you can figure out how long this is going to last as well. So you would use something like a brokerage account. You would go to somewhere like Vanguard and open up just and a brokerage account is just like an investment account, and you can invest this money. Since it's going to be for, a decade, you'll give it some time to grow. Because if you needed this like next year, then no, don't invest this. Put this in a savings account. But you're almost treating this like a 529 plan, like you would say for your kids' education, but for your parents' future. You're almost kind of creating a retirement plan for them. You could even open up, for example, like an IRA for them and contribute into that directly. And that way it's in their name as well. But this kind of gives you an idea of how much money you could generate. And then you could use something kind of like, they call it the 4% rule, where you can safely take out 4% of your earnings from your retirement account every year without completely depleting what was in there. And so in this case, I don't think I can show my calculator on the screen, but if you had, it won't be a lot of money if with these numbers. But for example, if you had 52,000, you'd end up with, what is it?
Oh gosh, it's like, how much is it going to be? How much is it? Like nothing?
You're like, this is no money whatsoever.
This is not going to be a lot. This is not going to be impressive. What is it?
Now I don't even want to show you.
What is it?
So it's, oh wait, I did that wrong. Hold on. 52,000 times 4%.
Because is it 10%? Like 5,000?
So you can basically generate $2,000 a year off of that.
See, that's what I'm saying.
So it's not a lot of money, but it kind of gives you I think what I like about this, it gives you a realistic expectation of how much money you could generate, because you don't want to set unrealistic financial expectations for yourself.
Absolutely.
So there's you could either go the route of saving money up front, investing that, and then pulling it out, or just basically just building it into your budget and saying, how much of a cushion do I have available to start pulling out some of this money and, just sending it directly to them.
You know what I love about this conversation, Chris?
Oh, what?
It's that, we were talking about in-laws, and you and I somehow managed to just take it and just weave in budgeting and investing into it, right? Like, it's so great. But also, Angie just asked, what site is that? It's just investor.gov.
I'm also putting it in the chat here. So that gives you a link directly to the calculator there. So you can go and find it. But yeah,
and we'll put this in the show notes as well.
Oh yeah, good point. We got to remember that.
Yes.
Hey Kaylee, can you remember to remind us to put this in the show notes?
Yeah, Kaylee, can you put this in the show notes, please? So that way it's actually there. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead. This has been really long, but really good. So let's go ahead and thank you to our author who wrote in. I think this is a wonderful topic and something that I hope that we helped you kind of just think through some of your options. And I just want to say thank you, because I know there's so many other people that see this on the horizon, and they might be nervous to talk about it, or it might bring up a lot of different emotions. So I want to thank you, the author, whoever wrote in about this, for talking about it, because I think that this conversation can help a lot of people. Yeah,
no, I agree. You have to be brave to share something personal like this. So we always appreciate everyone who takes the time to do that.